Thank you for coming to this evening's meeting, February 4th, Tuesday, 2020. I would like to call this meeting to order at 7:39. Is there any reason to go into executive session?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay. Opening statement, please.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 8, 2020, by the emailing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 8, 2020, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 8, 2020. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich.
Present.
Ms. Richmond.
Here.
Mr. Russo.
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. May I have a motion to accept the minutes from January 7th?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of January 7th, 2020.
I'll second them.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich.
Yes.
Ms. Richmond.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. I'm going to continue in this section, but we need to go back. I'm sorry, I'm just
Pledge of Allegiance.
left one meeting for this one. Forgive me, please. May I have a motion to accept the minutes from January 21, 2020?
I'll make a motion to accept January 2020, regular and
2020.
executive.
I will second.
Mr. Bonovich.
Yes.
Ms. Richmond.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence at the end.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mayor, could I also just request that everyone keep the Walsh family in their prayers? As we all know, the former mayor of Howell Township, Robert F. Walsh, lost his battle to brain cancer. So please keep his family in mind, and your prayers will help support them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to ask if there are any reports from the executives here.
Mayor, I have one item to read into the record.
Please.
Added to the agenda this evening is Resolution R-20-113, Agenda Item 9A22, Resolution opposing New Jersey Senate Bill S-2.
Mayor, I have a few items to update the governing body about. Several weeks ago, we had discussed veterans parking and reserving a few spots. I know Councilman Russo had asked me specifically about this. Just recently, our DPW posted signs, Town Hall, the library, and also Echo Lake, reserving a spot for veterans parking in each location. Something else I'm looking at currently, we're probably going to be rolling out in the near future, is privatizing janitorial services for the township. We're going to start with this building as a location. We've been discussing sharing that cost with the schools once they move in, and analyzing if that's more cost effective. There are no positions that are going to be laid off. This would be through attrition. We'd be replacing that.
Could we just see those numbers to make sure?
Sure.
The difference.
Sure.
Thanks.
Email that out to you. Just today, our finance department rolled out our new program. We're fully on Edmunds now. Kudos to them. It was rolled out today rather successfully. One thing to take note is for governing body and residents that review the bill lists. I know Councilman Richmond emails me constantly about them. There's going to be a slightly different appearance to it. That's only because of the new program, but same information will be contained. But also want to compliment the Finance Department on their work today.
Lou, are you awake? I'm just asking. No, I'm kidding.
He had a rough day today.
I can imagine. I know what it's like.
And then finally, just today, I had emailed the governing body with the suggestion of holding a budget hearing, public budget hearing meeting on February 25th at 4 p.m., if that works for everybody. If you could just check your schedules and let me know. I did hear back from a few of you already, so if you could let me know if that works. I know you did want to hear from a few of the larger departments. That's all I have.
Yes, please. I have two things that I wanted to talk about. One, I've been sitting up here and I've been hearing many people come up to the dais to talk and to say that they feel that this council should be bipartisan and that we should work on a bipartisan basis, which I believe that we were doing when we were working on the waste transfer station until a letter went out solely from the Republican portion of the council without even asking anybody else on the council if we were interested, but instead kind of put out there that we hope that the mayor and Councilman Bonovich would at least come on board and assist. So I just want to put out there for the record that when the vote was taken by you, Deputy Mayor, as well as Councilman Nicastro and Smith, Councilwoman Smith, you all voted yes to move forward to that. I was the first one to send a letter out to ensure, I wasn't even here, to ensure that I put my opinion on the record. I did not, have not, do not, and will never approve or agree with that program. So it was, we want to be bipartisan, but yet that was strictly not. So I felt, and I don't know about yourself, Councilman, but I felt that that was inappropriate, unprofessional, and really not in spirit of working together towards this project. So that was the first thing that I wanted to say. The other thing that I wanted to say, which is much, much better, is that we are going to have a farmer's market. And I am so excited about it. I want to say thank you to Joe Clark. And actually, Joan Osborne is not here, but thank you to Joan Osborne. They worked tirelessly with the team. They are incorporated, and we're going to be hopefully utilizing the area of Old Town Hall. That would be so wonderful because the area needs some regentrification, and we're hoping to utilize that space and have a great event during the holiday season and during the summer when we have the farmers market there. So we'll keep you posted on all that information. At this point, there's a proclamation that I would like to read.
At what point would you like to go back to other reports?
Oh, sure, go right ahead.
I was just, where are we on the tree fund that I'd asked that, perhaps you, the manager and DPW could set aside, you could find a way to set aside some funds on a yearly basis for safer tree removal and trimming?
We can have our tree expert go out and start doing an analysis. If there's specific areas that you'd like addressed, we can concentrate on those first.
The last meeting, we put forward the idea that we have to revisit our tree removal ordinance that's 15 years old. I don't know if that was relayed to you. You weren't here last meeting. But we asked that Shari from CME look at that ordinance because, the labor costs are 15 years late. The price of, replacing a tree, we know the costs have changed. And as Councilwoman O'Donnell is saying, to replace these trees costs a lot of money. And when a developer comes in and removes these trees, they opt to pay rather than replace because it's cheaper, and also, we're on it cheap because our prices are, our removal ordinance it's old, it's outdated.
Okay, we'll look at updating that.
Okay.
The second thing I wanted to ask, on the energy savings plan that the school has implemented, I had asked that we look at some of our buildings in Howell. And have we begun that process?
I actually met with Ron Sanisak from the school about their program to get some input, and he is recommending a different blend than what they had done. So I'm planning on meeting with him more about that. He's, I believe, just came back to work. He was out sick for a number of days. So that's where that's at.
Oh, that's good. And just as a point of information, the farmer's market's been a 5-year uphill plan. So I agree, it's a good thing to, it's a wonderful thing to have it coming to fruition. I hope it becomes very successful, and I'm sure that in 2 or 3 years' time, it certainly will be. And lastly, I don't know what you're referring to, Mayor, the yes vote, but if you could enlighten me, I would like that.
I don't know, I don't have the article. Does anybody have the article? Anybody out there have the article? It's all over the internet. Yeah, the letter that, would you mind coming up, please? State your name and address before.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Because this is a lot of reason I'm here today. Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street. I know you all know.
Tina, just do me a favor, please,
Yep.
and just read what Deputy Mayor is asking.
Republican-led council issues statement strongly opposing transfer station for Howell Township,
not the
dated
letter.
February 1st, 2020, for immediate release. Township leaders speak out against proposed project that will bring high-volume traffic into the community. February 1st, 2020, the Howell, New Jersey, Howell Township Deputy Mayor Evelyn O'Donnell, Councilwoman Pamela Richmond, and Councilman Tom Russo issued a joint statement related to the proposed project at the site on Randolph Road near the intersection of Route 547. The project, described as a solid waste transfer station, would allegedly receive thousands of tons of construction debris by heavy-duty truck on a daily basis. The debris would be sorted and then shipped back out to other facilities for final disposal. Their statement is as follows. The proposed transfer station in the southern portion of our community is not an acceptable project for Howell Township. We have opposed this project since details first began to emerge back as 2018, when we sent a letter to residents in the area making them aware of the proposal to raise community awareness. Since that time, we have, I'm trying to read it as. We have waited patiently for the further details about this proposal, which have begun to emerge and are even more disturbing. Without even seeing the traffic report, it is obvious that the heavy trucks coming in and out will have a debilitating impact on our roads and infrastructure and will forever change the fabric of the Randolph Road area. We don't need this transfer station in Howell, and we will do everything we can to stop this project. We call on Mayor Berger and Councilman Bonovich to join us in this bipartisan basis to work together to defeat the unnecessary and quite possibly unsafe project. And then it lists all the council members that were noted up top with their email addresses and how to get in contact with them.
Thank you very much.
My question was, what was the vote? You spoke about Councilman Nicastro, Councilwoman Smith, and myself as to a yes vote.
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to talk about a vote that this council did. January
sorry, I have the
22nd,
floor.
2019.
Wait,
I
John,
have the
give me a
floor.
sec, give me a sec.
Go ahead.
My question is, my question originally was, what is this vote you referred to?
This vote happened, Evelyn, this was in, I guess, 17, anybody?
2017.
Come on, I guess we all have the history. You all have the history. It's
Can we
not
have point of
here.
order,
I'm
please?
sorry,
Joe
this is
Clark,
a point of
please.
order.
No.
Don't. Come up, please.
My
So I
question is
think
to
we're
you,
going to have,
Mayor.
it's going to be more effective if we all take turns speaking.
Of course,
Good evening,
absolutely.
Mayor and Council. This is Barbara
evening.
Dixell.
Thank you. Address?
Piazza, Victoria, Freehold, New Jersey.
Thank you.
With reference to your transfer station.
Is this specific to the question?
Oh, absolutely, honey.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I thought I would have to wait a while for this, but you know what? It's out. Good. Somehow, things wind up in my mailbox or get mailed to me. And one of the things that got mailed to me after that transfer station thing came out was 2 letters. It's 2 or it's 3, the home. Letters by the previous council saying that were done, not here in the outside, they were done who knows where, and signed by Jeff Mayfield. The council said they have no problem with the transfer station. I've got them, they're signed, you're the only one who was opposed to it, I have your letter also. So, I've got these letters, and boy, I can't wait to get them into a newspaper, because I've had them since they showed up in my house. I thought I would have to wait a while for them, but I've got them, signed by the previous council.
No,
The Castro, Smith, O'Donnell, and Walsh, don't go there,
thank you.
don't go there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Now, back to
I've
the
got them,
question.
signed, the, Mayfield said, called the council, he wanted to know what went on Randolph Road. I'll bring them next time, and I will read them into the record.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I will read
Barbara.
them into the record.
Thank you, Barbara.
Now that this has come out, I will say this.
And I want to tell you something. The 3 of you, and you, should be ashamed of yourselves. Disgusting. You're a governing body that needs to work together.
There will
For the
be no
West-
yet, listen, I will not
Absolutely.
allow them
Right,
to
okay.
yell, but please, I will not allow anybody to yell at them.
The governing body needs
Please.
to work together. You were elected, you sit here, you're on behalf of the people of Howell Township. Shame on you all.
Can I speak?
The language should have said continued, and I know where John's going. It should have said continued to
All right.
support, obviously. We all put a, what was it, a resolution last year?
January
unanimous.
22nd, 2019.
Should have said continued.
The first thing that
Clearly.
first nature of business that this council said we do together united was, we campaigned. I have 2018, it says stop the dump, here's my mailer. Here it is. And for you guys to say, join us, we're already there.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to join again when I'm already there.
We sent a
That's
similar
game.
mailer.
That's a game.
And it
So-
said, it should have
so-
said continued.
All right, well now, listen, we were united. Reorganization, just passed 2 weeks ago, the beginning of the month, whatever. Evelyn, you said, continue to work united as one council, bipartisanship. That press release is not bipartisanship. Our resolution is, our last meeting, we asked Joe Clark to write a letter on behalf of all of us, and that's what we should do. So if you keep going down that road, the public looks at us as not united, and they're disgusted. So we need to be better than that. We were united, it was our first resolution we passed last year, and it's the first letter we're sending this year. So let's maintain that. So all this going back and forth, I want to say, I thought we were united.
Out of
I think we're
everyone, I'm
united.
disappointed with you.
So-
So, John, just to reiterate the letter of opposition that Joe just, I guess, did you send out to the whole governing body, Joe? He's been working on it for a few weeks since that
That letter
meeting.
has nothing to do, though, with the
Excuse me,
press
Mayor, I'm
release.
speaking, right? Thank you. So the letter of opposition, which we were hoping was going to go out weeks ago.
So immediately after the last meeting, I started preparing my letter.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably different than the press release because in drafting mine, I had to review
No,
the
He's
county's
speaking.
waste management
Jesus.
plan. I had to review their master plan and a number of other documents so that we had actual facts in there.
Right.
And so I just finished it and distributed it to everybody today. So
Right.
it's still a draft document, but we can finalize it and we can get it out the door.
Right, I was
ASAP.
just trying to get the point out there that we did ask to draft a letter of opposition, then an article comes out that, excuse me, either do I.
Wait.
Thank you. So, John,
Give me one
just,
second with that, please. Please. I always ask. I don't like it. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. So the article came out from the mayor in her support of the waste transfer station, and her going to the meetings, whatever. That said Mayor Berger. Why would that not have stated mayor and council? I'm just asking. No, can you? Well, I'm actually asking John. No, I was actually speaking to Mr. Bonovich.
With press release? There
Well,
was
no,
press.
an article I said, I'm sorry, I may have said press release. The article, and you boosted it on your website, your Facebook page, so that was on behalf of the mayor, but why not, again, the mayor and council?
The mayor showed up, we didn't show up. I didn't show up, you didn't show up. She was the only one there.
But no one asked us no one asked me how I felt about it.
About how you
I
felt
was,
about
I
what?
was here
The
at the
transfer
Commerce.
station.
Yeah, that same night, I was here with Councilman Russo. We were both here. We had the Commerce station, the Commerce here.
Oh, the commerce meeting.
Yes, and it was added to the SWAC agenda to 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the mayor said, what's going on? So she took a ride over there. I was here, conversation with Councilman Russo, and Evelyn was up here, planning board, and that's where the mayor went, and this is where Tom and I, Councilman Russo and I were. That's what happened. That's what happened. We were here.
I know, and again, the implication of that, you keep saying that you were here and I was not. Number one.
Listen.
Listen, John, I'm just saying the digs and the little condescending comments really are not fair, because again, I don't know your life and you don't know my life, but just because I'm not someone doesn't mean I don't care. I just want to put that on the record and be clear. That's
And
all.
don't ask me to join something after the fact when I've been against it a long time ago.
Right, but you're implying that we're not.
Okay, so I would like to bring this back. You have,
Yeah.
yes, please.
My statement was headed towards simply this. When this first occurred, I was on the board 2016, and the manager, Mr. Mayfield, called council, explained the situation. There
I
was
did
no vote.
not get a call.
You weren't on the council.
I was.
No, early. When Mr. Mayfield called everybody originally, it was
I think you're mistaken about the
Castro,
timeframe.
Smith.
You're mistaken of the
Walsh.
time frame. I was on council, Walsh was on council, and so were the three of you.
And you got the call too?
I
then,
did
from-
not get the call, no ma'am. No ma'am. I did not get a phone call
That would have been,
at all whatsoever. There was an email, and I said, what is that?
okay. Well, I will tell you what happened to me. It's important because people do not understand the history, which was, there was a phone call, and Mr. Mayfield explained that the transfer station was out of our hands. If they wanted to do it, they would do it. However, we could have certain considerations if we were lucky, a road widening, covering of a truck, things that he considered safety and health related. However, we had nothing to do with endorsing the transfer station. So he asked, would you be in favor of him saying to them, we would like certain considerations should they force it through? It's that simple. I have offered to members of the community to meet with them, Mr. Mayfield and myself, to go over the truth of how this began. There was no vote originally. No one had an opportunity to agree to anything because there was nothing to agree to. It was out of our hands. So
So
it's,
all of the emails that I have that talk about the vote, that talk about that, it means nothing?
there's a vote. I'd just love to see, because I
I
never
will-
voted.
I will get
You
them
voted
going
on the
forward.
transfer station?
No, I just
Okay,
said.
I did not. So who voted on it? No
There was a
council
letter-
member?
There was a letter sent from yourself, from Councilwoman Smith, and from Councilman Nicastro. that
Objecting.
Supported.
And that was the one from
the-
Mr. Mayfield.
I'm sorry, that supported the transfer station. I sent a letter, and Senator Singer, at the same time, sent a letter, and then a letter was sent of the four of you.
Okay, and-
But the first letter was said that you approved, supported the project.
Well, I will say this as plainly as I can.
Please.
The letter that said that I supported the project is an untruth. And
Fake news.
How clever.
Well, I mean,
And someone did call me today about that thing that was on Facebook, and I did respond to it. And again, I say, anytime someone wants to meet with Mr. Mayfield, themselves and myself, I am available at any time. If he wrote that, which I never saw the letter that he sent, which I find surprising, it is a lie. If Mr. Mayfield were still employed, I guess he could respond to it, but he
so
is
I
not.
guess, would us opering that letter?
Oh, I know the letter exists now because
Bring it in.
because people have it. But did I see it?
Township stationery.
No.
Bring it in.
I don't know, so
Signed
then,
and sealed.
All right,
so,
It's quite simple.
let's move on.
Yeah, I agree.
What's changed from January 19th to January 22nd, 2019, we're opposed to it. We're all opposed to it today, correct?
Correct.
All right, all right.
And no one said did you?
Correct.
Didn't they say that? Didn't say that.
And also that statement should have said continue to. I agree, absolutely. We were all in agreement. Let's move on, guys.
proclamation, the centennial of the 19th Amendment ratification. Whereas the year 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And whereas women fought for the right to vote more than a century and preserved in the face of resistance. And whereas Monmouth County was the home to many, suffragists, is that a word?
Suffragists.
Suffragists?
That didn't look like
Awesome. Both male and female. And whereas February 9, 2020 will mark the centennial of the New Jersey ratification of the 19th Amendment, and whereas August 26, 2020 will mark the nationwide centennial of the 19th Amendment, officially becoming part of the United States Constitution after the required number of states had ratified. And whereas daughters and great-granddaughters of the women who fought so hard to vote have been making their voices heard at the polls for nearly 100 years. And whereas there are over 200,000 women registered to vote in Monmouth County, New Jersey. And whereas women are running for office and currently in elected office in large numbers in Monmouth County, New Jersey, following the footsteps of these great, what's the word?
Suffragists.
Suffragists. I need new glasses. Now therefore, let it be resolved that I, Teresa Berger, Mayor of Howell, New Jersey, do hereby proclaim the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution in the Township of Howell, and encourage all citizens to honor the role of the ratification of the 19th Amendment in promoting the core values of democracy as set forth in the United States Constitution. There was not one comma. Thank you. And actually, there was a typo. Okay. Let's open up for discussion. Barbara Dixell.
I'm going to make one comment to this transfer station, and I'm going to go on with what I have to say. When SWAC held the meeting, the first word out of that chairman's mouth was, "We're here because your council sent the letter to approve it." Your son came in here, because you weren't here, your son came in here and read a letter, because you were out of the country, that you disapprove of it. De Castro and Walsh, I think, they came running in here, "Oh, we don't want it. I'm bringing the letters in, they're going to hit a newspaper, and everyone's going to know what happened." I have them. They were handed to me. I've been waiting for this transfer thing to come up. I can't wait. The truth is going to come out. Now I got to say what I have to say. People who live in this town are entitled to know what's going on. With reference to your statement that the Board of Ed is moving in here, and you're going to share expenses with them, make them pay. Make them pay for whatever they have to pay for. They charge us enough money. Make
I'm
them pay
sure
for
they will
whatever-
pay fair market value for all of the services that they're using. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
And Freehold, the town of Freehold has their farm market I think it's every day, or I don't know what days, in front of the municipal building. They have all their farmers bring their local produce right in front of the municipal building in Freehold. Nice stuff. Okay. 9/8/22. Somebody explain that to me?
9/8/22?
Yeah. It's the Senate bill. Your new addition tonight for the Senate bill.
Mayor, can I explain it? Yeah, I added this to the agenda. Actually, today, I broke a rule of mine. A letter came out on January 31st, I think it was on Friday, from the superintendent, his name is Charles Sampson, Freehold Regional High School District, to Governor Murphy, saying that he is against it. He was specific in certain things that essentially harmed Howell Township, and I thought it'd be a good idea to draft a resolution opposing S2.
So the state wants to severely cut aid to Howell Township?
And the Freehold Regional School District, but Howell's going to be impacted more so. We send more kids to school in the Freehold Regional School District than any other town.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. Good for them. Anybody in the state's listening, good for them. Because the Howell Township Board of Education charges all of us at least $300 every single year on our taxes.
No, this
You
is,
know what?
Barbara, this is state aid.
This is state,
State aid,
Barbara.
State aid, so
Right,
every
let them
year,
reduce it.
yeah,
Let them reduce it. If
Yeah.
they reduce it, that means taxes increase.
Well, then fine. Well, then don't reduce it, that's all. We pay enough in this town.
But the-
Seniors,
that's-
80
No, but
years
so the
old-
point
that's,
is-
yeah, that's the,
Councilman Russo is in support of them not increasing
Well, then don't
taxes
increase
and
it,
not
that's all.
decreasing funding.
Don't increase it then,
Thank you.
because we pay enough in this town. People who are 80 years old, 83 years old, whatever, live on Social Security as their only income. Tell me what has to get paid every month.
This is meant to
Every month
save you
something
money.
doesn't get
But
paid.
Barbara, this is gonna, we want to support this so it helps.
May I, Mayor?
Yes,
If you don't mind?
please.
So if I may, Mark Parisi is here, Barbara. He is a elected representative of Howell from the Freehold Regional School District,
Okay.
who may be able to, if he would be so kind at another time later, come up and speak about it and maybe give you some information and answer some of your questions. How's that?
Fine.
Perfect. Mark, would you be so inclined if you could later? Thank you.
Okay, so the farm market, introduction 11.1.
That's the farmer's market.
This is the farmer's market?
Yes.
Okay, that's good, very good, thank you. Also, all right, now I want to talk about 9/8/21 that was pulled from the agenda, why? Why is it on there?
that was also me.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So, this is it's a resolution supporting the Second Amendment in town. I didn't think it went far enough. I thought we should add a little bit more that would protect gun owners in Howell Township. And I'm still investigating gathering research to include in the resolution.
Listen, why do we need, isn't there enough stuff going on in other states and other towns that, protecting gun rights, everyone's out protecting gun rights and the demonstrations and all kinds of things. It's my opinion, I don't really think you need it. And you don't want any nuts getting nuts, going around causing trouble because they think their gun rights are violated. We've done fine all these years. What do you need a
Well, because Howell's done a pretty decent job of protecting the Second Amendment.
So leave it alone.
Well, until the governor came. All right. Well, we can.
You know what?
Sure.
Tom?
You don't want
Smile.
the gunfight at the OK Corral.
okay.
That's what you're gonna wind up with, the gunfight at the OK Corral. And that's gonna happen. Don't go there.
Well,
I don't think that's.
I'm not sure that Howell will be the OK Corral.
Guess what? You've got it across the country in every state, they're all like shootings and killings and mass murders.
But are
and
we
what.
sure
You don't
that
wanna
those
do
are
that.
legal weapons versus illegal weapons? We can't
So
make
far, we've done
that.
a good job. What do you want, what do you want to
I'm just
create a
making a
problem?
statement. They're legal and illegal weapons. When legal weapons are handled legally, there's no issue, yeah?
They've done fine up until now.
It's-
What do you want to create a problem for?
We're not creating anything, we're just,
Well, you
To
know
be,
what?
to be honest, I think we're not going to change the Second Amendment. That's not us. So we're wasting our time.
They get paid a lot.
We're wasting our time.
I don't want to see us wind up with a gunfight at the OK Corral, like in some of the other states.
Barbara, do you have another topic?
No, I'm finished.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Mark, I guess you're on the list, so you're up here double.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Parisi, 2 Castle Court. Yes, I am on the Freehold Regional Board of Education. I'm speaking here on behalf of myself, not on behalf of the board. But I do support the fact that the council is going to pass a resolution in opposition to S2. Basically, the Reader's Digest version of S2, for people that are unfamiliar with it, that's a Senate bill, S2. It's known as the School Funding Reform Act. And essentially what happened over the last 10 years or so, state aid funding had remained flat throughout the state, and you had some districts that had increasing enrollment without increasing funding, and the vice versa, where you had some schools where they had decreasing enrollment and their funding remained flat, so they were, I guess, essentially overfunded. So what Senate President Sweeney was able to get through this bill a couple years ago, and they decided that they were going to essentially adjust everything. And some districts got more funding that had increasing enrollment, and some districts lost funding that had decreasing enrollment. Unfortunately for Howell, the K-8 and the Freehold Regional, they had decreased funding. The regional's losing somewhere to the tune of $30 million over a 7-year phase-in. We're losing $3.8 million this year, and it's going to escalate up to $30 million by 2025. Obviously, with the property tax caps, 2%, it's not possible that a district like ours, like the K-8 or the regional, could, even if they increased their taxes to the cap, it wouldn't make up for the funding losses. So you're kind of like held over the barrel, and you're in a situation where it's like, what are you going to do here? Where are you going to start cutting? You're going to cut busing, you're going to cut this, you're going to cut that. Obviously, a lot of things get put on the table at that point. So both districts are in a really difficult position. I happen to know that there's been some discussions with our legislators to try to see if there's anything they could do to try to mitigate, pass some legislation that could mitigate some of the impacts. Maybe instead of doing a 7-year phase-in, move to like a 10 or 12-year phase-in to try to offset, to allow districts. I know that recently Sweeney tried to pass a bill that would allow those districts that were in the unique situation where so that they could go above the 2% property tax cap, but Governor Murphy vetoed that, and he pushed for his millionaire tax, which he's been, strongly advocating for. So, unfortunately, you got 2 Democratic politicians in Trenton that are, at odds with each other, and, you got a lot of school districts that are kind of stuck in the middle. It's not a good situation for us to be in, but, we're going to do the best that we can with the situation that we've been put in. Surely it's an extraordinary situation, and one that, is going to impact our community. So thank you, Council, for that. And if anyone has any other questions afterwards, Barbara, if you want to talk after the meeting, I'll be happy to answer whatever questions. As far as
Excuse me, may I?
Please.
Mr. Parisi, and the K-8 district stands to lose about 22 million, correct?
Yeah, somewhere in that
So
neighborhood, yeah.
we're looking at over a $50 million deficit that the Board of Ed, and both, K-8 and regional, has to deal with. And of course, the taxpayer is always at the other end. So, and I'm disappointed that Governor Murphy didn't think about giving tuition to illegal immigrants. So this is really a smack, So I'm hoping that between the Board of Education and the governing body, that maybe we can get something more positive in the works, because this is an atrocity, an atrocious amount of money.
Yeah, it is.
You know.
I mean, our superintendent, Charles Sampson, has been very outspoken about it. He's very knowledgeable. He's been really trying to do everything he can to try to reverse what's going on, obviously. But it's not an easy situation that we find ourselves in.
So you'll keep us posted in terms of anything else that the Board of Ed thinks that we may be able to be helpful with, and we're going to continue on, our path as well.
This is a Trenton issue. I mean, any fix at this point is really going to come from Trenton, so we just got to kind of wait and see, what happens. And I just think it's really important that parents of students in the K through 8 and the Freehold Regional pay attention to what's going on, because when they get a letter in the mail that their courtesy busing has been terminated, and then they start showing up at meetings complaining, saying, what is this, and we've been saying this has been going on for a year, we've been trying to warn you, but people haven't been coming out and being
Maybe
outspoken
they'll go
about
to
it.
Trenton instead.
Perhaps, but I think it's really important that the information's out there and that families understand the impacts that are coming.
Mark, Mayor, so, Mark, I did see the, well, my kids go to the district, so I get all the emails and notifications. There's a petition that Sampson, I don't know, obviously, I'm hoping you saw it, but there's a petition, and I guess, John, you would have seen it because your kids too, that they're asking everybody to sign, but you could Google the letter from Charles. It's an open letter. It's on Google. It's a great letter. It gives everybody the information of what's being cut, so there's no surprises, because, like you said, most parents will call and say, what happened to this, what happened? It's really clear, and there is a petition on there that we ask that you sign. Would it be possible to put a link on the township website as well and share it, so we could get the information out to the people that, don't really have interest in the district?
Yes. Is the petition online as well, or is that?
Yeah, the petition's online. If you go to the Freehold Regional High School District website, there's a link there that you can go ahead and sign the petition. So
Yeah, I think it says district announcements or something.
Yeah.
It's like right on the front.
Yeah, I believe over 11,000 people have signed the petition
Yeah,
already, so
12,000.
it's certainly gaining momentum. I just think that it's important that our local legislators understand, that, as Superintendent Sampson wrote, this has been a massive wealth redistribution throughout the state of New Jersey. And of course, there's always winners and losers, and there's unintended consequences. So, I don't want to sit here and just beat down on it, because there were some districts that were underfunded wrongfully that needed the funding, and they got the funding. But how is it fair to a district like Freehold Regional that really educates its students on an economy of scale at $3,500 less per pupil than most districts? I mean, we're the largest regional high school district in New Jersey, and we do it cheaper than any other regional high school district in New Jersey.
We're already consolidated.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and part of the path to progress is to consolidate, and we are a model for what they're trying to do in Trenton. So why are we being penalized for something that that we're a model for?
Well,
So it seems-
let me ask you, have you and any of the school board members gone to Trenton to have that discussion?
Yeah, well, mostly the superintendent and his administration are the ones that are going that. And now I know that Tom Ziver and Brick, there is a lawsuit that's being filed because the funding formula, they're not disclosing the funding formula. And we feel that it's unfair that you're telling us that we're underfunded, but you're not telling us what the formula is. So we're asking for what the formula is, just so we can see how they arrived at the decision that they've arrived at. We can get into the numbers of it, but I don't want to bore everyone with that. But
It's not a bore.
yeah, this is real. This is very real. Just a couple other things that I had to, you guys
Can I just
ready
ask
to
you
move
one
on
more
from
question,
S2?
Mark?
I'm going to jump in.
Go ahead, John.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
jump in. Usually I make a big stink with resolutions being added, especially 3 o'clock same day. But apparently, we all know, we're all well aware of what this does. And we all know how many residents move to Howell for our schools, how many people move to the Freehold Regional for the schools. And this is going to impact everyone. So I'm glad that this is, Tommy, Councilman Russo added his on last minute, and I'm not going to make a stink.
Oh,
But,
man.
in fairness,
Going on?
we need to,
Play lotto.
no, we need to do a better job for our residents, for ourselves. Fortunately, I know what this is about, so that's probably why I'm not making a stink, but.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, the letter came out, it was Friday, and then I think was Sunday Super Bowl, and then Monday rolled around, and I got to it, so.
So I would ask the council, right? We all have our connections, Trenton legislator, so whether it's Singer or Gopal or whoever those people might be, if we could use our influence maybe somehow, some way, in a good, positive, nonpartisan way, I think that would be a good start. So I'm already making my phone calls.
Yeah, two things that I would, if you're going to do that, the two things would say, let's really look at maybe a longer phase-in of 10 to 12 years. And the other thing is special education funding they have a thing called extraordinary aid, where the state agrees that they're going to pay a certain percentage of extraordinary aid, and they have a certain obligation. But in the past, they haven't met their obligation and fully funded all the extraordinary aid that they promised different districts. So even if they just met their obligation and paid all of that extraordinary aid, that would help offset some of the pain of S2, but they haven't even done that yet. So those are two areas that if you were going to talk to legislators, I would suggest that you start at.
And when you figure out the formula, please let us know.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, are they considering raising taxes or are they just going to cut like busing and extracurricular, or are they going to look to raise taxes?
Both.
So what they're going to do yet,
Okay.
because we got to meet with the
We have
board.
we have a way to go.
and, yeah, the administration needs to present their budget to us in the next few months, and we'll look and see what it is. But I think the bigger picture that you need to look at is, let's say, like, we're losing 3.8 million this year. Let's say we raise the 2%, property taxes, and then next year we're losing 5.5, and then the year after that we're losing 7.5, and we're losing 8. So after you've, cut busing, and after you've lost staff to attrition, and after you've done everything that you possibly can to cut things, and you can no longer go back to that well to cut, and you're still looking at $8 million in cuts, $15 million in cuts, then what are you going to do then? These are major
Yeah, the numbers are
problems.
huge.
The numbers are massive.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they really are. I'm sure that for some districts, they have to look at closing schools. I don't know if that's on the table for us, but I'm sure some districts will have no choice.
I'm sure it'll be discussed, unfortunately.
We'll try to move on there. Okay. As far as, I'm also on the Shade Tree Commission because I have a lot of free time. And I know that I went last week and saw the new spider lift that we got. It's a beautiful piece of equipment. I'm really happy that the Shade Tree was able to help purchase this piece of equipment for our DPW. Paul Novello was there, and he showed me around. It was like a boy with his toy. He was so happy to have it. I know there's been some discussion, Ms. O'Donnell, you've mentioned, talking about doing some tree trimming throughout the town. I think with this piece of equipment, with the crews that are trained, we should be able to get out there, especially with this mild winter, and hopefully begin to do as much of that work in-house as we can. And I'm looking forward to seeing the piece of equipment in operation. Again, it's a very nice piece of equipment. My next question that I had was really directed maybe towards Mr. Herman. I live on Castle Court. I saw that you guys they put up the sign, they're going to start opening up Lane's Mill for the water, the segment 4 of the New Jersey American Water.
That's correct.
Any possibility that maybe they would have a discussion about offering some water to the 8 houses on Castle Court since they have the road opened, or is that really the high pressure lines, that's not really going to work?
No, that was, I asked about that 3 years ago when we first started this. At the time, they said they weren't interested. It would be something that they didn't want to pay for. Much like Freewood Acres, they were not going to expand their system for residents unless it benefited them somehow.
Right.
So for 8 houses to run that much water main would be very
The
expensive,
break even's like 40 years from now, probably.
if not more.
Yeah, okay, all right. The other thing I wanted to discuss was, in September, I had suggested to council that maybe we file, that we have an attorney representing the township's interest at the planning board regarding the Monmouth Commerce Center. Now that the planning board has denied that application unanimously, I would just ask that the council consider maybe passing a resolution indicating that if and when that application gets challenged in court, that you guys would at that time consider filing as an intervener, because it's my understanding that government entities can file as interveners in prerogative writ challenges, and that the council should be proactive on this, not reactive. And maybe that's something that you could discuss with your own counsel about how you might want to proceed on that. And then the last thing, and I don't want to belabor the point about the letter because I know you guys already hashed it out, but I've been following this issue, and I've been to a lot of the meetings, and I was at the SWAC meeting on January 16th with Mayor Berger, and I've talked to Bonovich a lot about this matter. Listen, I understand, we discussed it, Councilman Russo said that, it should have said continued. I get that. Maybe you guys can put out a subsequent letter,
It's not
just kind of correct me.
necessary.
It's not necessary. But, for the uninformed residents out there that haven't been following the issue, you know, they would read that and they would say, oh, our Howell Republicans have been really spearheading, you know, opposition to this, and our Howell Democrats have been doing nothing. And that's really not fair, because it's not true. I mean, the fact is, you know, both, you know, Mayor Berger and Councilman Bonovich have really been out there doing a lot, just as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
Yes, just as much as everyone else. And, you know, I just thought, you know, that if you weren't following it, you wouldn't have got the full story. Okay, that's all. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Tina Smilek?
Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street, Howell. Let me start out by saying, Deputy Mayor O'Donnell, I would like to take you up on your offer to meet with you and Mr. Mayfield. I would love to do that. So if you set that up,
Actually, I'd asked you to set that up on that messenger conversation we had over a year ago.
I don't remember. Why would I set it up with Mayfield? I don't know Mayfield.
Well, you were challenging my position, so.
Well, I have the Oprah of everything back to
I will call
October
Mr.
2015.
Mayfield and ask him if he will do so.
Yep, I would love to have that. So, going on, I'm going to pass through all this stuff because no reason rehashing it. Was the only thing added to the agenda after 3 o'clock, since I wasn't here before, was the S2 resolution?
Correct.
Nothing else was added? Okay. I've been busy, so I haven't. Playgrounds, I'm very happy you're doing playgrounds. I wish it was a little more. My only question is $30,000 in various items that may be needed. Why do we need 30,000 in various items at the bottom?
We're still finalizing a few of the items as we go, so we felt that if we put that in there, we had a little bit of fluff to fix any of the parts. For instance, we had a couple we came across where steps were broken and needed to be repaired. Instead of me going out and cutting another purchase order to do the exact same thing to buy a $400 step that needs to be replaced, I asked them to put those two line items in there. So they won't be used unless I get a proposal from them and a proposal from the installer to put it in and repair it.
Okay. And then when you talk about everything's being installed by, I figured Whirl is going to install it, so everything's being installed by there. Is there anything that our guys can install that would save money?
Our guys are doing all of the demolition on the existing playgrounds. They're digging out some of the existing safety surface so that the installer can just come in and put it down and not have to dig it all out himself. We will be doing all of the restoration work around the new timber ties and perimeters. So any extensive restoration or some grading work that needs to be done will be done by DPW.
Okay. Like benches, they're very simple to put in. Would it make sense for our DPW to put them in and use, you know what I'm saying is a lot of tot lots and a lot of
Yes and no.
swing sets.
Right.
So it's like, are we leaving out a certain group of kids here for that 5 to 12 age group?
Well, we're also putting in multiple different playgrounds that are 5 to 12-year-old playgrounds. So
How many of those are you, it just seems,
Well, there's a whole. I mean, there's a.
350 doesn't seem like a lot of money to me to redo 9 playgrounds.
And if I spent $1 million, you'd be up here saying I spent too much money. I think we played that game last week. So you know, I can't win. I spend too much. I spend too little. What do you want me to do?
I want to spend in the right places.
No, DPW is not going to be doing much installation because if they're doing installation, I've spoke to Paul Novello, I've spoke to the gentleman over there, then they're not doing something else like taking trees out or maintaining other facilities.
That's fine. I'm very
So-
happy you're doing something because they have been neglected for far too long. The only other thing I have, I think it's the only other thing I have, the S2 that you're adding. I think we're all in agreement, everybody is against this S2. My problem is putting this on last minute. What you're doing is you're leaving out certain things. Like Mr. Parisi said, I would like to see in here that it state that we want them to release the funding, how they're getting to their funding. I'd like them to release, I'd like to see you back, issue it, to know what their funding formula is. It doesn't say anything in here.
I think that's a good idea, actually.
I mean, how can we do anything without knowing what the funding formula is? We're stuck. We can't make any suggestions, we can't do anything else. I would just like to see that added, that we would like them to release the funding formula on
Yeah, I
how
mean,
this was.
I agree. Is that not in there?
No.
No, it's not in there, and we don't know, is it by
I wouldn't have,
area, by
I wouldn't have a
enrollment?
problem adding that. I'm curious. That's actually kind of the reason why I put it together. Part of the egregious nature of the bill,
You know
law.
what? It's one thing to oppose something, it's something else to oppose it and have an idea to go back with and say, this is what we should be doing. And we can't figure out what we should be doing when we don't know how we got there to begin with.
Is there a way to provide procedurally, an amendment to a resolution? So we pass it today, could we add an amendment at the next meeting?
We could amend it at the next meeting.
Okay.
I mean, if we wanted to pass it now and then offer up another resolution.
Cool.
I'd also like to see all politics taken out of it, whereas thankfully the Howell Township, you know what, all these politicians, one way or another, get us going, regardless of party or regardless of anything else. So I'd like to see this a plain statement from Howell Township as a unity, not political, because that's what you're doing, you're making it political as long
Well, that
as you.
wasn't my intention
And then-
at all. And Tina, the only reason why I did include that in there is because in the January 31st letter, he essentially calls, this is Superintendent Sampson, it's kind of a cry for help to reach out to your legislators and to go to them, because it's a state issue, as Mark Parisi said earlier. This is a Trenton issue.
Okay,
So-
but maybe that's something we should put out as a letter, that Howell Council and Unity are agreeing that we'd like all residents and give their names, addresses, and
Yeah.
how to contact them. And maybe, because saying it in here absolutely does nothing, but I agree, reach out to all these people. Whatever we could do, you want to, we can do a petition, and get, Howell will be on board 100%. I don't think there's many people that would support this S2
I
plan.
don't think anybody would.
So, so that was mine. I just think putting it together hastily, we're leaving out some important things that should be in here. And maybe it would be good to sit down with Mr. Parisi, and since he has a little more knowledge and background, he made some excellent points that I would like to see in here.
Yeah, again, my draft of the resolution came from the January 31st letter from Superintendent Sampson's letter, and it was pretty thorough. I thought it was pretty
Thorough,
comprehensive.
but you know what? You never see that they're going to have to make cuts to administration. They're going to have to make cuts to supervisors. It's always they're going to make cuts to hurt a child, or they're going to make cuts to do this and
Busing.
busing.
There's a lot.
They're always hitting the thing here. It should be included in here. It could adversely affect administration. It could adversely affect supervisors. I mean, Mr. Sampson, let's face it, he just got a raise, and so you know what? We undid the cap to cap our superintendents and all that, and we're giving them all raises, but you don't see anybody giving back any money when we're going through this too. If it's going to hurt one group of people, it should hurt across the board, not just the kids. And that's what it seems like, is we're just hurting the kids. So there's just, fundamentally, I'd like to see more substance to this, because this is what it is. It's what the school is telling you to say. I'd like to see what you have to say about it. I think you are all an intelligent group of people, and I think you have some great ideas, and I think putting in your 2 cents makes it yours. This is his. You're just regurgitating
No,
what he
I
said.
put Howell's information in there. I put the,
Oh, but,
yeah, no.
but I'm just saying, I just don't want to see regurgitated. I'd like to see a little beefier with,
I wanted, and the reason why I rushed it was I wanted to get it out ASAP, because we are the largest town in this district, and I think it's important that we get it out immediately.
oh, I agree.
And rally the troops, because they are starting their budget process, I think, now. I think they're starting their
Yes.
budget process now.
Yep.
So, I mean, there is a bit of urgency. I am okay with amending, or providing an amendment at the next meeting in terms of the finding out the formula, and saying that we would love to know what the formula is. It's unknown, as soon as it becomes available, or calling for them to release
I
the
mean,
formula.
let's face it, school funding goes back as far as we can imagine. It's not a Democrat thing, it's not a Republican thing, it's a New Jersey thing.
Yeah.
Across the board, we are spending, what's everybody's biggest complaint? My taxes are too high. Why are your taxes too high? Because of schools. Why are the schools' taxes too high? You know what? Consolidating, we got to start coming up, they have to start coming up with alternatives. Because just taking away from our kids and our busing and all that is not a solution.
Yeah, these are unprecedented cuts. These are big cuts.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. And just to make clear, the illegal immigrants getting free tuition is not true. It's illegal immigrants who are currently in our schools, and they are in the process of becoming legal that are allowed to get funding. So if they're not in our current schools, I just want that to be clear, because everybody has a misconception about all the different things here, and we all just blurt out anything. So, you know what, let's be factual here, and let's get the facts out straight.
But they are in the school being educated, and they're not legal at this point in time.
Being educated. Half of those kids are coming to their friend's house to be educated. And let me tell you, I'm the last person, I don't have kids, so school funding is a big thing for me, but, you know, I'm not the one that says you need to be funded, anybody that's not a citizen. But when they're in the process of becoming a citizen, they're already accepted to our schools, you know what? Maybe the problem isn't saying that we shouldn't fund them. Maybe the problem is saying, how can we make it so if they're here that we have proper immigration laws? Because our immigration laws, you know what? We don't kick out the people we should that's doing horrible things in our communities.
Again, but that's federal. That's not our,
I just wanted, on this, I just like to be factual that,
I appreciate that. I appreciate it very much.
so, I really didn't get a chance to look. So that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who is not on the list that wanted to come up? No? I'm closing this portion of the meeting.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
The resolution, certainly add whatever we think is pertinent. However, because they don't have the formula in place, and I'm not certain that they know when they're going to have a formula in place, I wouldn't want to hold up a resolution of this importance based on, having that particular element. So that's my only concern, about the formula.
But we can still provide an amendment and saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
and
just saying that this is too important.
We want to know
Yeah.
the formula.
I agree.
Basically.
Let's leave it on for tonight.
And I'm pretty sure they don't know the formula.
No, we don't know we don't have the magic pencil, no.
All right, everybody. Are we ready for the consent agenda?
All right, I'll make a motion to move 9A1 through 9A22. That excludes 9A21, correct? And
Yes.
motions 9B1 through 9B3.
I will second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. May I have an introduction to the ordinance 0-20-3? Do I read that? It's read by council.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-20-3 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 2/7/2020 issue of the Asbury Park Press together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 2/18/2020 at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance. An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 7, Schedule 7 through streets of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 0-20-4?
A motion to introduce ordinance number, 020-4 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the February 7th, 2020 issue of the Asbury Park Press together with notice of its introduction and passage of first reading by title, and that it'll be further considered for final passage after publication at meeting of the Township Council to be held on February 18th, 2020 at 7:30 PM prevailing at the time at the municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, authorizing the leasing of a portion of the property located at 4567 Route 9 North and at 251 Preventorium Road in the Township of Howell pursuant to NJSA 40:A:12-13. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Is there any unfinished business?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm not letting us go home yet. I got lost with all that going back and forth before. The last meeting, we tabled the road work. I've never seen that done before, and I assumed it would be on tonight's agenda. We're going to run out of time. I'd like to get that on the next agenda, the road work. There was 2 resolutions.
Yeah.
3.
Right.
Go ahead.
Brian?
I believe they were pulled, Councilwoman Richmond had some questions about it. She's asked a few, I believe she was still reviewing the documents.
Yeah, I had some concerns, and I'm just reading through the RFPs,
Okay.
but they should be ready for the next meeting.
It's last year's capital.
I know.
And we're going to pass new capital.
I'm with you.
We're going to
I
run
just wanted
out
to
of...
be sure I was
Okay.
comfortable with,
And, the residents,
I-
what's their complaints? The roads, and
Absolutely.
and the winter will come really quick.
what
So,
winter. May I, Mayor? So I just wanted to follow up with the concession stand. I know I probably shouldn't ask, but, so at the last meeting, we had talked about the concession stand and all that money we were putting into it, so the council, we had agreed to possibly look into just making them just bathrooms and not spending all that money on the concession stand, so I just wanted to follow up to see where we're at with that.
Yes, I had emailed our grant consultant that handled the grant for that. She's going to be reaching out to Monmouth County to see if we change the scope of the work, if that's going to impact our grant. She did not believe it would, as the bathrooms would have been the priority, and that's what we'd still be looking to do.
Very good.
But as
Awesome.
of this point, I haven't gotten a response yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Was there any discussion if we're going to do a state of a town this year? I gave you the paperwork last.
No, I have not yet discussed it with Mr.
Can we find an answer and maybe put that on the schedule so we know? Thank you.
Okay, for information,
Mayor, just one quick thing. I'm sorry. They would kill me. Congratulations to our Howell wrestlers and our Howell bowling teams for their recent victories, short conference, doing big things. They really would beat me up, Mayor. And they can. And they would have, and they can, so. For my well-being, congratulations, guys.
our next meeting is February 18th, 2020. The executive session is at 6:30, regular session is at 7:30. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful couple of weeks until we meet again.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
All right.